pitch will be at 6 p.m. So today we have senior infielder Baylee Klingler, head coach Heather Tarr, senior infielder SilentRain Espinoza, and senior outfielder Madison Huskey available for some questions. Coach Tarr, do you want to kind of kick it off with the...
Yeah. Well, we're super excited to have this opportunity to host, and just the seating is a pretty cool opportunity for us too. I mean, we believe our body of work represents a 7 seed or that type of a seed. We're certainly focused on the task at hand because we obviously, as a group, understand what it feels like not to advance out of the regional round, and our end goal is to have a chance to win a national championship. But this is a long road, and we have a wonderful group of seniors here with me, but also a great mesh of old and young that we're just continuing to grow. And I think we feel like the more time we get to play together, the more we can continue to evolve as a group.
Just for Heather, off of that, going out early last year in the regionals, not something this program has done a lot. Does that need to be said? How do you think that kind of affects the perspective or just the way that you guys approach?
Yeah, I think this group is pretty savvy enough to know there's no excuse for not being able to come through on Saturday or Sunday last year, because we definitely had every opportunity to win and advance. But I think just for the most part, these opportunities are delivered sooner in the season, and sometimes it depends on how other teams are performing. And unfortunately, we matched up with a team that was pretty red hot. I don't know if you followed Texas's final finish, but I think they finished where that team probably should have, and unfortunately we kind of caught the front end of it. So I think these guys are wise enough to know what we ran into, and it's not these guys' story. This team is a better team than a finish at regionals, but you don't have a lot of control over that. You have more control over how you form your group, how you lead your team, how you compete in the moment, and I think for this group, that's really where their minds are at.
Maddie or Cy or Baylee, this is yet 5th year for you. I know you didn't get to play in 2020 in the postseason, but coming to the postseason again, it's almost like a fresh start in a way, like a new season where you get to start all over again.
Yeah, I think it's a good kind of reset, I guess, and a new mindset to just really get after it as a team and kind of just compete and keep it that simple. And just work on how well we can play together, and once again just compete, because nothing that's happened in the past really ultimately matters at this point. So just being in the moment and working together in that way will be huge for us.
Yeah, preseason before we get to postseason is really long, but I feel like throughout preseason we saw instances in games where we played together and we felt it, and that's hard to keep throughout the whole entire season. So I think just finding that during postseason and, like Bay said, playing together, and all we can do is play game to game, not look forward to the future, but worry about right now, so.
Nice.
Yeah, I would agree with what Baylee said. Nothing that's happened before matters now. It is a new season, so just continuing to grow together, learn about each other, play together, and win in advance.
Similarly, for all three of the players, you guys have been through 4 different teams. This is your 5th different team in terms of each year being a little bit different group. How do you feel like this team is unique, and how do you guys go about winning? How are your strengths a little bit different than maybe they were a year ago? Just for whoever wants to answer that.
I think for our senior class specifically, we just have grown every year as in leadership, and I think like what Coach Tarr said earlier, it's a really cool mix of ages and a wide spectrum of just personalities and things like that. And I think our team chemistry is really big right now, and I think it'll help us advance in playing for each other. But yeah, just learning every year and taking the things that we learn and lessons we can grow from and moving forward has been huge for us.
I think too, just like the same thing that's been mentioned about like the age gap and things like that. I think we have a good mix of young and old, and the innocence of our younger players is great. Like it could be a blessing and a curse, but I think it's great because they're hungry, right? And they've never been a part of a postseason, so just to have that energy around us is really good for people that have been here for 5 years, 4 years, that know how hard it can be, but also like we're glad to be here in this position. So.
And similarly for all three of you players who are, all fifth years, all kind of coming to the, the end of the road as a career, do you allow that to kind of push you a little bit more, or is it the sense that, okay, I'm just going to try to expel that as much as I can, that feeling? Whoever wants to answer.
I think postseason's just always exciting, but just with it being our last year, I think for me personally, I can only speak to that, but I'm just really focused on like the experiences and how, like what I'll remember is just being next to the girls and just focusing on what's important and how can I give myself to the team. And, whenever everyone has like those good intentions, I think like collectively it's easier to advance, because like we said before, like in postseason, it's just a different game. And I don't think you can really go too far based on skill alone. So just kind of cherishing the moment and focusing on the fact that like this is my family, and I want to look back and just remember those feelings. So, yeah.
Obviously, you always want to play at home in the regional, but given your travel schedule the last couple of weeks and overall the season, you had some obstacles going on. And knowing that, if you're successful this weekend, you can stay home another weekend. Is it even more important, you think, to be at home? And that's for anybody.
Well, I think this program has its histories being on the road a lot, and so I think that these guys know coming in that that's going to be a thing. But I think with the Pac-12 tournament being an additional road trip and also finishing on the road at Stanford, we feel like, oh yeah, okay. But also too, the city of Seattle and our region, sometimes they start like seeing the weather turn and the sun comes out and they start really rallying behind us. And I think just for our attempts to peak at the right time, there couldn't be a better environment for us to be able to compete in, and that is, a continued weekend, this time at home in front of our home stadium, because like I said, like the longer we get to play together, that's not just including our team and our coaches and our players, but also too the city and how we're followed and how we're supported just continues to evolve and get better every single time we get a chance to play.
Heather, kind of similar, when you talk about hoping to peak at the right time, when this team is really clicking, what are the elements of that? What's the formula for this group specifically, where when things are going right, what are the things that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think just in general, like last year, looking at that group, I think we almost peaked like the very first weekend of the season. It was a very interesting year in that, but I think this group is just, you assume, oh, you have all these super seniors and everything, and they could fall into that trap too, thinking like, oh, well, we have it, we've been there, we know, we've been to the College World Series, but like they're saying, there's like people that are 4 years younger that are behind them that have never experienced this before. So you really almost have to look at it as like I said, the more time we get to play together, the more we gel. And so gelling to us obviously is typical of Husky softball, where we're totally relying on our pitching and our defense, but we think that the offense really starts to come together when we're working together and we're really trusting each other and believing it's not just on one person or one part of the lineup. And I think, one element or one example of that was our last Stanford game, where we were facing elite arms, and we had, we have 17 women on the team, 15 of them hit, and we almost probably used all 15 of them in that lineup, not just because we, blew the game open, but, we used every element of our game to be able to do what we were trying to do. So I think us being able to peak at the right time looks like that.
Heather, what do you know about Northern Colorado?
So we were lucky enough to play that team last year when we scheduled the Colorado State tournament. So we're just familiar with them and as an opponent. And we also know that, you play forward and you play for the next pitch, and you don't know what the results are going to be. So just the familiarity of knowing an opponent, it helps a little bit just in the scouting and in the preparation. So, yeah, we know, and we know that they're on a high too, because they just won their conference tournament. And, anybody that can do that says a lot about their team and where their team is at right now. So we definitely respect that.
Speaking of that, though, how do you feel about the whole group that you're in here? Minnesota, and I know you played McNeese down in Louisiana earlier, but how do you feel that this section stacks up?
Well, I think like we can't look at like paper and stats and everything like that, no matter where we are or who we're playing, because, we are not fans, like we're competitors. And so you can look at everybody's field and think, oh, well, this person, this team got hosed and these teams got it easy. And there's no easy route. I mean, everybody thinks they can win in these kind of things. And we just have our guard up in that way where we're literally trying to learn to play Husky softball one pitch at a time. And it doesn't necessarily matter who it's against. It matters how we play. And so that's really what we're trying to center ourselves on. I know that's not like a very, perception-giving answer, but we know games aren't played on paper. They're played in the head and in the heart and on the field.
Heather, you mentioned a mix of young and old. With Ruby being such a big part of your team and coming into something she hasn't faced yet in terms of the regionals and postseason play, how do you feel like she'll stand up to that kind of pressure and those kind of stakes and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not on any one person. Again, like when we're vibing together and this group has got it going in the right direction, it's 17 on 1, it's 9 on 1. It's not, one person going to carry the load. I mean, from a pitching standpoint, we got 4 arms that can go in any one of these games and carry the load. But for the freshmen specifically, yeah, they've never been here before, but certainly for these guys to refer back to them, like, hey, it's not a different game. Like the bases are still 60 feet. You still got to turn left, and you just got to play this thing one pitch at a time and not make it bigger than it is. And I think we can also, too, like Maddie said, we can learn from the freshmen. Some of them have come from, recent playing experiences on, their own big stages, whether it's been high school championships or summer championships that they've played in and won and done well at. So it's just, I think the tougher it gets, the better we play. And I think I would say the same thing for, people in that freshman class like Ruby Malin.
You guys have grown a lot as a team since the beginning of the year. I mean, you can see it in the infield when everyone's smiling and telling jokes, in the dugout when you guys are having fun. Where have you noticed that increase in chemistry when it comes to like performance in the game, and how do you think that will prepare you well for regional?
Yeah, do you guys want to answer that? Sorry, you being in the infield?
Yeah, I think just, as we've said before, just playing collective and, the trust part of it, trusting each other. Me and Rye talk a lot on the infield and just try to keep the game light, keep it simple and not get too into detail about things, just have fun out there and do the best we can, so, yeah.
Any other questions? All right.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you guys being here.